Hi Ayushi, welcome to the first session of our new accelerator cohort. It's lovely having you here.
Thank you so much, and the pleasure is all mine.
So now we come to the tough part of the day, which is asking you questions which you might, you'll do wonderful. So listen, you worked all over India. You worked in many geographies. So let me ask you this question, and especially for our audience over there who are from here, is that how important is the geography of a startup for its success? So is there a reason why people are migrating towards Hyderabad or Bangalore or even a Pune or Jaipur now versus building in the cheapest location, which is Mohali or Chandigarh or Ludhiana? What is your opinion on that?
So I think one of the most interesting statements I've ever heard is that demographics are destiny. So if Bill Gates was born to a potato farmer in Maharashtra, would he be Bill Gates with the same level of IQ? We don't know, right? And hence demographics sort of plays a very crucial role, and there is a reason that for time immemorial opportunities have clustered, because resources also tend to aggregate in places. Now for the longest time that has meant that as a civilization we've gone to a gold rush, right, and we've gone to discover parts of the world where we could get spices and resources. But in the modern context, right, in today's time, because of obviously large scale digitalization, etc., do you really need to depend so much on geographic proximity? For instance, can you not, and I think for a large number of people, can you not travel to Bangalore twice a month to network and just be building for the remaining 24 days in a month? You know, it's not as make or break. And I think what has changed definitely is that we now know of very impressive cases of startups who've built in places like Jaipur, for instance, or built in places like Ahmedabad. And even for startups that have moved to like Bangalore or Gurgaon eventually, right? So, like for instance, Razorpay Harshal Mathur pretty much worked out of and got incubated out of Jaipur before he moved to Bangalore, and he scaled it, right? So, for at least a decent enough period of time, people have the luxury of building where they are from, keeping costs low, using talent across the world, using very cheap travel to access resources. So yes, demographics are destiny, but at different points of your destiny you need different things as well. So in that context, location, yes, it matters, but it does not matter very early on in the game. I think it starts mattering when you need to go to a SF for sure, right? It matters when you need to set up like a 20,000 seater in office in Bangalore for sure. And it's not just small to big. I think the mistake a lot of people think is that they think that Mohali is like this, or Guwahati is like this, or Indore is like this, and hence I have to go to Gurgaon, Bangalore, and so on. But look at Zepto. Zepto moved from Bombay to Bangalore. It's not like Mumbai is a small city. It's not like Mumbai doesn't have talent. It's not like they weren't working there. But even a business like Zepto knows that demographics are about a certain kind of talent at a certain place. It's not that their pay structure for the employees has changed, but maybe they have unlocked something with demographics. And did Zepto need that unlocked early in their journey? No. But they have done that now, and have they benefited? Too early to tell, too late to tell. But just food for thought to also realize that too many people make the demographic conversation about small place versus big place. It's about different places and different DNAs. And the same organization has very different DNAs. So when I worked at delivery, for instance, the people, how they behaved in the Gurgaon office was hysterically different from the way people behaved in our Goa headquarters, and then the way people behaved in our Bangalore headquarters, because we had 3 headquarters.
You have headquarters in Goa?
We had 3 headquarters. Our CEO, my ex-CEO, works out of Goa, and he's lived and grown delivery out of Goa for the last few years. His CFO and his CTO are people who've wanted to be in the Gurgaon office. So his CFO and CTO are in Gurgaon. The CEO is in Goa. A lot of business leaders are in Bangalore, and the marketing team, which I was a part of, was in, and the CHRO actually sits out of Chandigarh.
Out of Chandigarh?
And we have an office in Chandigarh. Yeah.
Wow, this is
So-
fantastic.
so
I didn't know the delivery had such a big office here that they want the CXO sat here.
Yeah. So he is from, he has roots here, and he and his family are based
See,
here.
this is the thing. Everyone who has roots in a Chandigarh or a Punjab or this entire region north of Delhi doesn't want to leave this place. Because ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੈ ਕੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਨਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਹੈ so that we keep it to ourselves. But that's a very interesting thing. I think that interesting thing of small versus big is not as true as maybe Bangalore has that. Maybe it's the armpit of the world where all the talent suddenly comes and kind of collects. But that's a very, very interesting thought. So if I were to build on that, and let me ask you about Punjab startups. So startups which are building out of Amritsar, Jalandhar, Ludhiana and Chandigarh. Where do you think that they should kind of concentrate on? I mean, where do you think that inherent advantages could be versus somebody who's building, well, not in a Bangalore, which is again, but even in a Gurgaon, it's very expensive. Even in a Bombay, I think a room this big would be what a 2-canal house here would be for. So how do you think of, I mean, what do you think our startup should take away?
So this is an interesting question. I think there are certain industries that do well in certain geographies. So for instance, we do know that there's no place like Ludhiana for textiles.
Yeah.
So for instance, if I'll give an example of say a brand like a Wellbe, which has like these bamboo based shirts, and their founder is so active on Twitter and talks about it constantly. If you're maybe building in the athleisure space, right, and you're building in the textile and apparel space, there is no reason why you should build that out of Bangalore. You could build that out of a Tirupur, a Ludhiana, or a Surat, which are 3 like textile corner stores, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to go out? Like, you will get talent also. Maybe some kinds of talent you won't get, right? Maybe you won't get certain kind of tech or marketing talent, which you can work with in a hybrid, remote, whatever setup as well, or in a parallel office, if that's possible. So, what is like a state natively good for is one thing to think of. The other thing that's also important to think of is that the talent you need today is not the talent you need tomorrow, right? And at different stages of scaling, especially in the early stage where the founder is my baap, behen, bhai, everything of the startup.
True.
A lot of people jump at the gun and think that no, I won't be able to do it here because there are no other people like me here. It's sometimes a problem of lack of imagination, because you have people who come back to their hometowns and they don't have enough intellectual stimulation to do things here. So they look for opportunities and they don't find anything. So you have this simultaneous...
I feel like you're narrating the story of half my friends and nearly everyone in my family over here, that we come back, we want to stay, or mental stimulation nahi hai, and then we want to leave.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens, because people have social stimulation in these cities and people have financial comforts in these cities, but they don't have intellectual provocation. And when businesses can provide employment and support that, they're like, nahi, we'll go to Delhi, right? But do you really need to go to Delhi? You can have somebody who, if you need a particular kind of talent that's not there, a person from Delhi can travel 5 days a month to you in Chandigarh. So it's something to think of. And I think the two, yes, if I were to summarize it, the main drivers I would say is, what is it that your ecosystem is natively good at that other ecosystems are not natively good at, and how much of your anxiety is warranted versus how much of it is not warranted.
I hear you. How much actually, if you're worried about something, if you're stressed about something, are you stressed about that, or is something else causing the stress over there?
Yeah, a lot of it is just peer pressure.
Yeah.
Because when you go and you try and speak, suppose you've gone and you're at a networking session and somebody asks, oh, where are you based out of? I'm in HSR and I'm in Belandur and I'm in sector so and so in Gurgaon. And then you're like, no, I'm in Mohali. And then they're like, oh, now they can't go play pickleball matches with you and they can't drink with you. So I think a lot of it is social FOMO of not engaging with startups. But I think founders who are very heavily concentrated in places like Bangalore and Gurgaon, they waste a lot of time socializing with each other. I feel I have seen from my experience of working with a lot of early stage founders in Ahmedabad, Guwahati, Coimbatore, unconventional locations, Kerala also actually. I have seen that when founders don't work out of top metros, they are insanely focused and they do better because they just have work, right?
That is very interesting.
They don't have other things distracting them. They don't have two meetups to go to. They don't have like podcast sessions.
Is it underhand joke or is it underhand? No, but I hear what you say. I hear what you say. And to travel anywhere in Bangalore, you have to like plan in advance and you have to think कि अभी मैं निकलूँगा तो अगले साल तक पहुँच जाऊँगा और उसके बाद I can wait for the winds to change and plan the return journey back. No, it takes time. Let me move on to a little more professional, right? So let me ask you a couple of marketing questions. You led marketing. You're doing something very interesting right now. You're not only leading marketing, you're also leading recruitment.
Yes, I'm working on HR projects globally now. So I'm working across all countries of the world, and I'm learning a lot of things about recruitment that I did not know before.
So you're retraining yourself at this stage, right? When you've already achieved so much in life, you're saying, "Well, I'm going to go back, retrain myself, and let's try doing something different as well." So let me ask you Let me ask you from a very early age startup thing. We have a lot of our guys who waste a lot of time on कि सर fitment नहीं बैठी है. अभी I don't know whether I'm selling to the 18 to 35-year-old woman or to the 60 to 70-year-old man. I have no idea. I'm trying to fit that. How important is getting a product fit, जो PMF कहते हैं, versus execution and let's try everything. Let's just do it. Let's just do it right now. Is it really as important as we thought at one time when we said कि brand खराब हो जाएगा, कोई brand नहीं हाथ लगाएगा तुम्हारा, or are brands coming up on a daily basis that वो mental space नहीं है? Any thoughts around that?
So this is very interesting because when we do these fail fast sessions at innovation
with the Dhaval at innovation,
yes,
yeah.
at IMP, most like 90% of the fail fast session is around this question, which is around understanding how your customer validation plays into your product market fit journey. And to me it's very interesting because I think there is obviously a case where founders have two issues. One is there is myopia, right? So you think your product will solve something, but it may or may not, you may or may not realize what you're directly in competition with. I'll explain this. What I mean to say is that if I launch Zoom today, an Indigo or an Air India is actually a competitor to a video software because I don't need to pay 20,000 to take a flight. I can do a meeting, right? So sometimes what happens is that when founders are in love with their product, in love with their idea, they don't realize what they're actually competing with. So there is marketing myopia that restrains a lot of people from understanding who they're actually competing with. The other, and that whole thing, like your competitor, if your Netflix is actually sleep, it's not Amazon Prime necessarily. The other scenario is that there is a tendency to seek easy answers. And by that, what I mean is that I have seen this with almost every founder that I have done portfolio support with. Is you do want things to go your way. So in the tune of wanting to manifest an answer or nobody wants to be in pain. What I'm saying is that when you don't know who your startup is selling to, effectively you're in a state where you're stuck, you're anxious, you're confused, you want solutions. So you will throw anything in the wall, and the first thing that sticks. is the thing that you'll say that, okay, this is what works for my startup. But when you actually really get down to who is it that person that I'm trying to sell to, and think deeply, you will automatically know who my customer is. So if you're selling any product, if you really know the person well, or the segment well, or the problem well, you will get there. I think one example of something that I think I'll give the IMP example itself is that there was a gentleman who had a pickleball related idea.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And when in one of these fail fast sessions, he was absolutely insistent, and he was going to institutions like schools, and he was going to institutions like housing societies and asking for like a pickleball court and all of that. And I and he had not had success. He believed that was his TG, but he had not had success. And one of the things that I told him was that what problem are you solving for a school principal that he's going to give you space to set up a pickleball court, right? It's not in his interest, right? But you need to find who would care about this additional revenue stream that would come from you, or what kind of people could you get here who can be cross-sold something that happens at that venue and would be in. And the thing was not, hey, from an early age we want children to start playing pickleball instead of tennis, because the kid doesn't care about pickleball.
He wants to run.
Yeah, the kid's parents don't care about pickleball. The school administration doesn't care about pickleball. You've married into the idea that the best time to, build intent is very young. And then when we started discussing ideas with that founder, we realized, and we compared to other cities, right? So we compared to cities like Ahmedabad, we compared to cities like Bangalore, and we realized who are the people playing pickleball. The people who are playing pickleball are basically slightly overweight people who want a less taxing sport which they can socialize over. So your TG is basically a 28-year-old engineer, not a 12-year-old school kid.
Completely hear you. It's for unfit men like me who feel like they're still young and I want to go play and I'm like, tennis को देख के इतना भागना पड़ेगा, छोटा नहीं है कुछ, ये ठीक लग रहा है, इसमें कर लेंगे. So I understand what you're saying.
But you just go deep. So like width and depth, right? A lot of people really enjoy width because you feel busy, you feel that मैं ये भी try कर रहा हूँ, ये भी try कर रहा हूँ, ये भी try कर रहा हूँ, and I'm trying 10 things, something will hit the wall and register and work. But your question is largely a depth problem. Till you don't understand the base motivation of all of these 5-6 TGs you're dabbling in, you will not get to your primary main TG.
I completely agree. Now let me ask you one last question and then we'll be done. And I know you have a very big session with the startups today. Ayushi has worked in startups. You've worked in listed startups. You've worked in big, large companies. Will and when will the startup bug bite you? Do you have dreams of doing something on your own? कि यार मैं खुद अपना करना है. I want to see my picture on that Fortune 500. I also want to drive a nice yellow Porsche. I'm sure you do, but I'm saying I want to drive a fleet of rainbow Porsches. What is that? When is that happening?
So I think this is a nice question, and I think people underestimate how much running a startup takes out of you.
For everyone to hear. This is the stuff that you need to hear.
So for me, I am built as an operator. I can be an operator in any ecosystem. So I mean, when I was working in Future Group, I was by myself as a woman traveling in tier 2 India in like buses and speaking to distributors. Koi problem nahi hai. When I was in delivery, I was sitting in warehouses and listening to abuses from D2C brands ki hamara saman utha ke nahi leke gaye. When I was working in Novartis, I was sitting with top dermatologists and explaining to them how our molecule was. So I can be an operator in any ecosystem. I don't think that I am somebody who is you need to have a certain neuroticism or mania or very strong, I mean, being an operator is also a strong-willed thing, and being a founder is also a strong-willed thing. But an operator mindset is essentially a risk-first mindset, and a founder mindset is essentially a reward-first mindset. So when I work as an operator, I want my founder or CEO to have minimal risk because I'm setting processes, I am putting structure, I am going to do everything so that you don't fail. But when you're a founder, you do everything that you will do to succeed. So the mindset is just very different. And I have done portfolio support and independently consulted so many startups. And across, I mean, I've been privileged that I've worked with like D2C, SaaS, space tech, fintech, everything. And I've seen like, I think last year I went to an IDEX expo and there was like a flying taxi and all of that. And I was like, the kind of grit this takes to think and dedicate to yourself for 10-20 years, I would not be able to do, because my mind is so process first that I would try to structure this in 3 years, right? So like, do I have a 30-year long founder mindset? I don't. I have a 3-year operator mindset. But I have like very high work ethic and very high ownership.
That we can vouch for.
So I like being an operator, and I think it's good to have people on both sides.
This is gold. We should get a psychometric test done, I think, by every guy who says, I want to run a startup. Maybe he just wants to feel like he's running a startup, because this is a brilliant kind of understanding of who you are as a person, saying that I'm very successful because I'm able to take my own skills where I am really good at and take it from one point to the other.
Yeah, so I actually had for a very brief time, a co-founder and we built an optical character recognition based expense and billing management software in college.
Wow.
Yeah. And he went...
Optical मतलब photo डालनी है और अपने आप हो जाएगा.
हाँ. So, and he went off to the US and we canned it, and you know, life took its own course. But I realized that he had a CEO founder mindset. I had a COO mindset during that experience itself, because you know, he would want to do things to get them done, and I would want to do things to get them done perfectly. So I was like, no, you, and I think he started up in the US and he's in the Bay Area and all of that. But I think this is, it's really a mindset thing. That's why, you know, very often people who move from large orgs to even like early stage startups as operators, they fail, because that mindset has moved very, very far ahead to think at the level of almost neuroticism that founders have.
You are the third person I'm talking to today. You're the third person to tell me the only thing that needs to change is mindset. That if you're, I basically recognize and change the mindset. If you can recognize तुसी की कर रहे हो, तुसी किधर जाना है, then it's perfect. And if you can say that, yeah, if I want to do this, I need to just think differently. Absolutely fantastic. Ayushi, thank you so much for coming in and doing this for us. This means a lot to all of us, and this means to a lot to Punjab. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.